let's take a look at the next question. Number 19, when the product of x or 3 plus 2x plus x squared and 1 plus mx plus m squared x squared is expanded and fully simplified, the coefficient of x squared is equal to 1. What is the sum of all possible values of m? So hold on, it says the coefficient of x squared is equal to 1. Okay. And we're trying to find what's the sum of all possible values of m. All right, so let's take a look. All right, so one way to do this is just to like fully expand it. So when we're expanding, we're gonna apply FOIL. So this one times this, times this, times that. But to simplify this a little bit, the only terms that we care about are the terms that contain an x squared. So for example, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times mx is 3mx. And 3 times m squared x squared is 3m squared x squared. So we don't care about this. We don't care about this because they don't contain anything with x squared in it, right? But let's just do it anyway, just for the sake of clarity. So after we've done that, I'm gonna pick a different color and then do the next one, this one, this one, this one. So we get 2x plus 2mx squared plus 2m squared x cubed. And I'm going to use a different color again for the last one. So that's going to be x squared plus mx cubed plus m squared x to the 4th power. So and then so the next step would be to collect like terms. But as we talked about earlier, we don't really care about a lot of these. So I'm just gonna cross them out. So we don't care about these because they don't have an x squared term in them. Yeah, that's an x cubed, x to the 4. That's an x cubed. So the only ones we really care about is 3m squared x squared plus 2mx squared plus x squared. So we're getting one term from each color, and that we are told is equal to 1 x squared, because in the question it says the coefficient of x squared is equal to 1, right? So when we collect these terms together, their coefficient would be equal to 1. So essentially 3m squared plus 2m plus 1 is equal to 1. And all we have to do now is to solve for m. And in order to do that, we can bring the 1 over to the other side. So this basically cancels out the 1 with the 1. Becomes 0. Right? So essentially we have 3m squared plus 2m equal to 0. Factoring out the m, we get 3m plus 2 equals 0. So what are the two possible cases for m? It's either going to be 0, right? And then it could be negative 2 over 3, right? So I just set each of these factors to 0 because 0 times the other factor will give us 0. So I can set each of these factors to 0 and solve for m. And these are the answers I get. So going back to the possible answers in the question, we see that yes, there's a 0 and there's a negative 2 over 3. Okay, so actually I forgot about what the question was even asking. I was like, how can there be two answers? One of them's got to be wrong. But look, check this out. The question is not asking what are the possible values of m. It's asking what is the sum of all the possible values of m. So since the possible values of m are 0 and negative 2 over 3, if you added the sum of them would just be 0, 0 plus negative 2 over 3, which would just be negative 2 over 3. So the answer would be letter B.